You're tuned in to the National Intel Report, the Real Talk Radio Show.
We are back. We will open up the phones, 800-313-9443. Please don't wait to the last half hour of the second hour of the program, because it's real hard to jam everybody in there. At any rate, Robbie, you were saying what was happening on NPR? What was the story?
Well, it appears that congressmen and senators are not subject to the same laws that we are subjected to. In other words, they can use what is affectionately known as inside trading information to make money based on, obviously, legislation that they are passing. It's not illegal for them to profit from that.
So what would be the difference between a Nancy Pelosi that has built her riches off of insider information versus what was the gal that they cooked and baked?
Martha Stewart.
Yeah.
And what's his name from the Dallas Mavericks?
Oh yeah, the basketball. Yeah.
Yeah, they tried to nail him, and now they're having a hissy fit because there was an unusual amount of options activity on Friday in Perot Systems stock. And as you know, yesterday, Dell announced that it was buying Perot Systems.
Right.
And so now they want to know who was behind all this options activity on Friday, because it's illegal to trade on inside information. But congressmen and senators are they don't have those laws to abide by.
It's one of the perks of the job. You get to...
it's a criminal enterprise. What else would you expect?
I mean, after all, how are they supposed to keep their elite status if they don't have the elite perks? And breaking the law is one of the... but they make the laws so they can find the loopholes, and they're already in there. Somebody's...
I can imagine how much trading is going on as they're writing this new health care bill. I mean, guys are some of these guys are going to make a fortune.
Well, and by the way, Bob, did you hear Barry Sartoro's explanation on health care? The reason why everybody needs to get this, and if not, they will be fined. And it's kind of like car insurance. Everybody is mandated to have their own insurance, and that's supposed to keep costs down or whatever. But, there is going to be a fine if you do not take and if you do not insure yourself. There's a little thing called you cannot compel me to contract if I don't want to contract. But that's exactly what this guy is trying to push. Do you see this health care thing going through?
No. I don't even think they'll get any kind of a bill, and they're having real trouble with cap and trade in the Senate. And Barry also said in an interview on Sunday morning, which I did not witness but discussed on another program, with Senanopoulos or whatever his name is.
Yep.
He was asked about Acorn. He said, well, that's not on my radar. Now, Acorn, number one, he worked with. Number two, he was legal counsel to. Number three, his wife was the big wheel in Chicago. And he said when he was elected, Acorn are my people, and they're going to be there, and they're going to do this, that, and the other thing. And they reflect all of the things that I am myself. And so, lo and behold, we have 3 visits by a supposed procurer and his prostitute, and they asked questions of these people who worked in these 3 locations, and they all said, yes, we'll teach you how to evade taxes, bring 13-year-old girls over the border through Tijuana. We'll arrange that for you, and we'll help you set up a whorehouse for them. And it goes on and on and on. I don't want to go into the whole thing, but this is the kind of president you have. He's the same kind of soulless individual as George Bush, only he's a newcomer. And it's going to end up at no good end. And the people are very, very frustrated. I just saw a Rasmussen poll where 66% of the people want 1207. They want the Fed investigated. And the percentages are very, very high on those who are deeply disturbed. And this is a major issue. And so there are that one good piece of legislation. I think the rest of them are going to lose out. And I think that this administration is going to get ripped apart. I think next November, after this one, that the Democrats will probably be unelectable again. And I think it's going to be chaos from October onward. October, more than half the people won't take those shots. And number two, the dollar's going to visit, as I predicted in January, and then again in May, 71.18. And we're going to find out that, we're going to use something else instead of the dollar down the line here somewhere, have a new set of rules set up by the IMF so everybody can lose their sovereignty, and eventually we can get a world currency. But in the meantime, on the USDX, the dollar is going to 40.
Well, it seems that somebody is already planning ahead here for the drop of the dollar. Ahmadinejad over in Iran, they shifted the dollar valuation for the oil to euros, and that decision
they dumped all their dollars.
Yeah, and
yes,
they made this decision earlier this month, and this is.
Well, you know why they did that? They've been reading the forecaster. And I sent him a note and said, "What has taken you so long? What is wrong with you?"
We had Michael Collins Piper that went over and interviewed Ahmadinejad. You mean to tell me he's sitting around reading your newsletter?
Well, of course he is. I mean, we have other heads of states, most of them communists, actually. We've got Chavez in Venezuela, and we got, guess who? The guy in Cuba.
No, not Fidel. He's dead.
Absolutely. They contacted me about 5 years ago and said we'd like to be subscribers, and they subscribed to the publication.
Can I branch out ever so gingerly?
But hold on before you walk out on that limb, Robbie. I have only one more question for you, Bob. How many of our Congress critters are receiving your newsletter?
Well, I've been told by somebody in the State Department who came in on another show and on an IM basis, but we know who he is, and he said that everybody in Washington reads it. He said, I don't know who the subscriber is or how they get it, but the minute it's out, it's all over the Beltway.
Well, then, if they're reading your newsletter, and Robbie, you can jump off that branch here in a second. If they're reading your newsletter, then why isn't there more positive things coming out of Washington?
Because they're all criminals. They don't care what I say. They just want to hear what I say. They're trying to get the pulse of the people.
Oh.
What are the people being exposed to? What are they learning on all of these talk radio programs, on the Internet, with selective publications like the International Forecaster?
Well, what they're learning is that the American people have really started to figure out who has screwed them and how many different ways.
And they want to know that because they want to know when to leave town.
Well, now would be if you want to pack slowly, you don't have to run out the door, trailing underwear and socks falling out of your suitcase. Start packing now. Robbie?
Well, if they get out now, they won't have to be subject to the grenade rolling contests.
Grenade bobbing, yeah. That'd be fun.
Listen, I love them. And I love rolling them. Throwing those things is tough. The suckers weigh 30 pounds or something. And, you see those movies where these guys line up like a pitcher and throw them?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, forget it.
Yeah, last time I
almost broke my arm the first time I tried that.
Last time I was around live grenade throwing, I was in boot camp, and one guy threw it, and it hit the ground about 3 feet in front of him. The old saying about watching the butts and elbows flying, I'd never seen so many people move that fast in all my life. Robbie, you were going to say out on that branch limb there.
Yeah, no, it's just whether Bob knows what's going on in Venezuela right now, especially with the miners. I picked up the stock on Friday because I was beside myself, Bob. I'd sold, as you know, I'm out of all my miners. Got out of them a week ago. But being out of the market really was driving me nuts.
That's understandable.
And so last Friday I made a pact with myself. I said, okay, you can buy one stock. You can't spend more than $1,000. And I bought Golden Resources, GRZ. It had been sitting at 50 cents for the better part of the year, but all of a sudden it jumped up to 80 cents on the end of August. And so I bought 1,000 shares at 85 cents. Today it closed at, I believe, $1.05.